Hello, and welcome back. This is V here, and Pam is behind the camera.
Hello, everyone.
And today, if you remember, Pam made some applesauce last week. Easy breezy recipe, right? So I'm gonna take this applesauce and show you guys how to make a chutney out of it, which is a very prominent chutney in the Indian cuisine. We always have it on hand, and I actually don't have any, so I told Pam, I said, I can turn this into something, you know? And applesauce, I also use it in my baking. Sometimes I don't have a banana to put in, so I just use applesauce. So it's a good thing to have on hand, and this is another use of this. So I'm gonna show you guys. I learned this technique when I first moved here in the United States. Tamarind was not something that's found, and when you find it, it's not that cheap. So this was a way to kind of, you know, push through and make a bigger batch of the sauce. So you can find tamarind pulp. I will link these down below. And this just has tamarind and water in it. So that's all it has. Or you can use fresh tamarind, which this is the pack I found at the grocery store, and I will link it down below, and it's just pressed tamarind. That's all it is. It's dried and it's pressed together. And then you just break it off and you soak it in hot water, and then, you know, you pulse it, and, you know, you get whatever. So what I'm using here is applesauce, and I'm going to use this whole jar. And I have about...
And that's a 2-cup jar.
That's a 2-cup jar.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Pam's good with the measuring of the jars. I'm not. So 2 cups of applesauce, and I have 5 dates here, which after this, if you feel like you need it to be a little more sweet, it's like a sweet and tangy, sweet sour kind of sauce. So depending on how sweet you want it, you go. I don't like it that sweet. I like it marginally sweet, so I go with 5 dates. And I tore off about 1/3 cup of the tamarind, and I just soaked it in hot water. I just have these both soaking in hot water, so it's easy to blend up. And if you don't want to soak it, if you feel like, you know, you forget or whatever, you can just throw it in some water and keep it in your fridge overnight. That softens it up too. So, you know, whatever floats your boat. So what we are going to do is we are going to pulse these up, and then I'm going to strain it and add it to my applesauce. So I'm going to warm it up. Oh, this looks really good. Look at that. It's really good. I'm going to pour it all in here. I'm going to get a spatula to get it all out. What apples did you use?
I use Macintosh. My mom always used them. They're not real sweet. They just have a really good flavor for baking. So whenever I do pies or apple bread or apple cake or applesauce, I use Macintosh.
Okay. So it smells really good. It smells really, really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dates, put it in the blender with the water. And the reason I need the water is so that I can actually blend everything. Yeah. And and you know, when these blend up, it is gonna get thickened. So you kind of need everything, and then what I'm gonna do is blend it, and then I'm gonna strain it right in here. All right. Oh, you okay?
Yep.
All right. Now you can see it's blended, and it's thickened, and the color has turned brownish, which is absolutely normal. So all I'm gonna, do you smell that? It smells really good. It reminds me of my childhood. It does. My mom always, so when we lived in Belize, it was hard for my mom to get specific things to Belize. So what the trend used to be, they used to go to India, and they used to take less clothes than they needed. And then when they would come back, at least 2 people had to travel, because when they came back, their bags were full with groceries, like Indian groceries. Yeah. So, you know, I remember my mom processing all this. She would buy the tamarind from India. She would bring it, and then that was the week when she would come. It would be about unpacking everything, keeping the grocery in a certain place at a certain temperature. It's very humid in Belize, so she would have to store it somewhere where it's nice and dark, because she brought enough, you know, and that's what the trips were on. Like, okay, we need our groceries, so we need to go to India. So when she would come back, yeah. So and then they would go when they absolutely ran out of everything, you know, like and she would take us too, because we had bags and everyone had 2 bags. So it'd be like, okay, if we take these many people, we can bring back this much, you know. And then some people would be like, can you please, yeah, we'll bring you some, but it's gonna cost you extra, kind of situation. And then the week when she would come back, it would be about sitting and processing all these things and, you know, rationing it out. Like, if we use this much, that's how much we can get out of it. So it used to be fun when she used to make these chutneys and stuff, watching her process all this and then freeze some, and you know.
So she would make a big batch.
Yes, she would.
And
especially
freeze it.
Yeah, especially the tamarind. She would you know, take it out of the pack. She would separate it out, because she would also use it in cooking, like for dals and stuff. She would just, what my mom used to do is just take out a piece, soak it in hot water, and then she would, you know, use her hands to kind of press it out, and then she would strain it into the dal to give it that tang. So she would sit there and
would you use this in the dal in place of like lime or lemon or dry mango powder?
Oh yeah,
it's another one of those.
Yes. And there was a time where, you know, my mom she also told me this on my trip that I just made. She was like, sometimes we didn't have enough tamarind, or, you know, my mom taught me several different ways of adding some kind of tang to the food as it freshens the food. There's several different things, which we should make a video about that, because there's so many things. So she would bring enough of everything to last her a while. But when sometimes she would have backup for when she didn't have these things to add that flavor, she would put citric acid in it. And that's something that's available almost everywhere. And it was available in Belize too. So she would add just, you know, she'd buy the citric acid and she'd just throw like a little bit in there and it would melt. It gives a good flavor, but she's like, this is what I used to do when I used to run out of everything. So I was like, oh, okay. So, you know. But it's funny, the house we lived in, it had one room that was very temperature controlled, and it had all the lentils and stuff in there that, you know, you couldn't find.
Yeah.
All right, so I have successfully strained everything, and all I'm gonna do is whisk everything together, and then
So that is applesauce, the dates, and the tamarind.
Yes, that's all in here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the spices in here, and then I'm gonna put it on the stove. It smells good.
I know, you can smell it. It smells really good.
Yeah, it smells really good. And what I'm gonna do is cook it a little bit. So I'm gonna add my spices. I'm gonna try to be as precise. You know, I've never done measurements. That's just how I am.
But we need it for the show.
Yeah, we need it for you guys. So I'm gonna go in with the amount that I see here. I'm gonna go with at least 2 tablespoons of coriander. I'm gonna go with one tablespoon of cumin. Actually, I'm gonna do 1.5 tablespoon of cumin. And I'm gonna put some pepper. I'm gonna put 1 teaspoon,
like a
half teaspoon of cayenne. And then I am gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt. And then black salt. I know that a lot of vegan Indian foods use this to give something an eggy flavor.
Yeah,
they use
got that
black
sulfur
salt. Yeah,
from the volcanic.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But a lot of Indians use this in street food. Like, it's very significant to street food, Indian street food. And that's the reason I'm adding it in here, because it just adds that extra layer of flavor that I need. And I'm going to go in with at least half a teaspoon. Or maybe a pinch more. And then I'm just going to mix everything together. And I'm going to cook this a little bit. Like, I want it to heat through and everything. I want it to become slightly thicker than it is. And the other thing, a lot of Indian people add the seeds of the melon, you know, that are in
Which
the
melon?
cantaloupe.
Okay, yep.
You know the seeds that are in there. So my mom used to do this. She used to take it out in a strainer and she used to clean it, and then she would just put it. She would put it on a paper towel to dry, and then she would sit there and she would peel every one of those seeds. She would sit there and do it, and then she would add those to this. And in a lot of the street foods, you will see that the melon seeds as a big part of their finishing. So she would add it to this chutney and she would keep it in the fridge with those seeds. So fun fact, that was also how I made a few extra dollars on the weekend.
to take all the, shell off the seeds.
Yeah, because they're kind of hard. You have to bite enough on them to get it open, and then, you know, it takes hours to sit and do that. But yeah, that's how I made a few extra dollars on the weekend on summer break. Not during school. She'd be like, no. Unless, you know, we were getting on her nerves, and she'd be like, I need something for you to do. So I'd be like, here, clean this up. All right, so I'm gonna put the lid on this, and I'm gonna cook this on a medium low for about 5 to 10 minutes. And we'll be back and I'll show you how the completed product looks. This was cooking for 10 minutes on the stove, and as you can see, it's piping hot and it's thickened a little more, and the color of it has got intensified a little more. I tasted it, but I feel like it needs a little more of this black salt, so I'm gonna put another half teaspoon of it. So in total, 1 teaspoon of it. And here you have it. It's like ready. So I'm just gonna give you guys a quick run through what we use it for. It's because this is a very street food-esque finisher. So my mom, what she would do is she would fry potatoes. I obviously air fry them without the oil, and then I add the green chutney, which I'm gonna link with this video. But I add the green chutney, I add this, I add a few more spices. Like I would go for another pinch of cumin, maybe some cayenne, and I would toss everything together. And I'd add just a touch of chaat masala on top, and then eat that. The crispy potatoes. Oh, I'd add some onions to it too, some raw onions. That just makes it perfect. Yeah. The crispy like potatoes. Yeah. And then the other thing that my mom used to do is make this aloo tuk, which I think I've made it on the channel. I have to look back, but if I find it, I'll I'll do something with it.
Link it down below.
Link it down below. But what she does is she would fry the potatoes. She'd double fry them, so it would be like cut to a specific length. Like she'd take one potato, she'd cut it in 4 parts. She would first fry them to where they're tender, then she'd take it out and she would smush them and fry them again, and then it gets crispy, and then she would add dry spices on it. To oomph it up, when we had guests and something up and she wanted to turn it up just a notch, she would add this chutney on top of it. And boy, it did. It would turn it up several notches, and then she would add some cilantro on it, and it tasted really good. Another thing, one of the street foods that we do is same thing. Take the crispy potatoes, you put a yogurt sauce, which they add some spices to the yogurt, and then I have done it with my kids with vegan yogurt. I'd add cayenne, cumin, black pepper, and salt, and just whisk it up, and then throw that on top of the potatoes. Throw the green chutney, throw this chutney on top, and add some chopped onions, some cilantro, and some type of Indian namkeen, which is fried snacks that they sell that just adds a layer of crunch and flavor. My son loves those, so for him, I would usually throw those on top and make it. So there are so many ways to do this. We'll probably make a video to show you how else we use it and how I use it, and we'll show you that. But this is a good chutney to keep on hand. It's sweet and sour. It's more on the tangy side. I like it on the tangy side, but if you like it sweeter, you're welcome to add more dates to it. But you can also use this as a dip. You can I'm coming up with the idea, but I'll have to work on it. But we'll we'll come back with a video and show you how to put this together and how we use it. I hope you like it. I hope you try it out. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and we will see you back here next week. Bye for now.
Bye.